Hello everyone, welcome to DagreatGaming, and today I'm going to be going over some predictions for World of Warcraft's next raid coming in the 9.1 patch. It's getting kind of late into the first raid's lifetime, and with BlizzCon online coming pretty soon, we're likely going to be hearing what the next patch is and what the next raid coming in that patch is. So I'm going to give a few ideas as to what that raid could be based on what little we know from the current patch of Shadowlands. First up, we're going to go with the new Kyrian raid, which would be the Citadel of Loyalty. This area is right now known for the world boss and elites that you go to when you have the world quests for them. But there is a section in the back of this area that is kind of floating above the rest, and there's a teleporter to get to it, but when you go up there, there's no treasure or rare or anything. It's just kind of an open area, almost looks like it's for decoration. I feel like this could be a spot for an instance portal that will be added later, and this raid could be a darker version of the Spires of Ascension dungeon and its theme, and have bosses maybe relating to Uther or the Lysiona person that spawns the world boss. I think that a raid like this could be a good way to try and continue the story of Bastion. I have not played the Kyrian storyline as of recording this, but I do think that it would be a good way to try and continue off of what Bastion was trying to do. And I feel like that all of the zones, except for Revendreth, need to have some sort of continuation to them eventually, right? Unless Blizzard just decides to scrap some of the areas, which would, I guess, kind of feel bad if you picked that Covenant. The raid itself, I feel like, would be in similar length to Castle Nathria, maybe a little bit shorter. And I feel like that with some of the creatures they have in Bastion, they could make some pretty interesting boss fights, especially with some of those big mech things that they have running around the zone. I think that this one is probably on the more likely side. Moving on to the second new raid idea, we have Thras, the Blighted Lands, which would be located in Ardenweald. Right now, the story of Ardenweald kinda has at least part of it containing the Drust invading Ardenweald, but you have to stop the Drust at some point. And from what I could tell from the Ardenweald campaign, it kinda looks like you did already, which would make this idea the least likely, but there's still an area in Ardenweald that looks like it could contain an instance portal to the homeworld of the Drust, which would be Thras, the Blighted Lands. Now, we've already seen a section of this area in Battle for Azeroth, especially if you were an Alliance player going through that storyline. But this could be a good opportunity to try and expand on the area that the Drust live in, maybe make it not just a copy-pasted version of Drustvar. I don't think that this raid is too likely. Ardenweald has multiple different storylines that could go off of, and it looks like that at least with the Drust one, it's mostly wrapped up. So if this were to be added as a raid, I feel like it would be one of those mid-patch raids that's only like one or two bosses. The last potential raid that I see coming in this next patch is a Maldraxas raid. I'm going through all of the different covenants that haven't gotten a raid yet because they all seem like they could get one at some point. And for the Maldraxas raid, this would be the House of the Chosen. Now, unlike the other two, it's a little harder to try and find exactly where this potential instance portal would be. Maybe somewhere in the back of the House of the Chosen area, but it isn't as clear as the other two. But I do think that this is probably one of the more likely raids that could happen, because the Maldraxas storyline kinda like ends abruptly when you're playing through the Maldraxas campaign, at least. There's 3 different houses you have to stop in the Maldraxas campaign. You only stop 2 of them. The House of the Chosen doesn't even get mentioned, which means that it's still a problem that's going to have to be dealt with later. And of course, a raid would be the usual way that players have to go and solve a problem in an expansion, right? So I think that there'll be a House of the Chosen raid somewhere that we have to go to that will be in a similar length to the Castle Nathria raid currently. It'll probably be a similar idea. You have to go and take down the leader of the House of the Chosen. Although, what they could do that might make it a little more interesting than just navigating hallways or whatever through the House of the Chosen is that this could be a great chance to try and make another Naxxramas style raid, where you have this big necropolis looking thing, not the exact same layout as Naxxramas, but something kinda resembling it. And then you have the wings that you have to go down, and you can do each wing in any order, and then you have the final boss that you get to once you beat all the wings. That's kind of more like a wish list thing for me, but it still has the potential to happen. If there's any time that they were ever going to do another raid like that, Maldraxas would probably be a good opportunity for it. There is of course always the opportunity that they are just going to make a raid on a new zone we haven't seen yet, but I don't think that that would be what they'd do for the 9.1 raid. That's probably much more likely for a 9.2 or 9.3 raid, and they could also add multiple of these in the same patch or in a similar patch. Like I said earlier, they could add a 1-2 boss raid midway through the patch. But what do you think will be the next raid? Let me know in the comments what you think of my ideas or what you think will be the next raid, if you agree or disagree. And, like, subscribe, all that other stuff, and I hope to see you in the next one.